are back. We're back. This is our third episode, Gabby.
Yay, and it's Friday.
Yes, very excited. Welcome to VO Journey Academy Live. My name is Anthony Pica, and
Anthony.
I'm with who? Who am I with? Who are
Gabby
you?
Nistico. Hi, guys.
That's right. We were talking about our coffee mugs. We have new coffee, well, different coffee mugs
Yeah,
and everything.
every day.
We are very excited to be here with you. Make sure you guys say hello in the chat. Tell us where you're from and what you're doing. So actually, right before this, I was asking Gabby a question because we were thinking about what we were talking today, and Gabby said something about people working with their coaches
hmm
and messing up or something. And I said, "What do you mean by that, Gabby?" So what were you talking about?
Stop trying to be perfect for your instructor.
Mm,
And all it comes down to is you're paying a coach and you're paying for coaching to make every mistake possible with your coach so that they can help you improve and get better. If you're always trying to be perfect for your coach, then you're not really learning. It's kind of counterintuitive. And I get that there's like that, oh, I don't want to disappoint, right? I want to be a good student. Yes, but being a good student doesn't mean being perfect.
mm. I know
Yeah.
what you mean. So taking chances.
Mhm.
Um, Sometimes I feel like, and even as instructors, though, I do feel like we want our students to feel like they have permission to play or to
Mhm.
try,
Yeah.
to step outside the box.
Freedom to take risk,
Mm-hmm.
to try something different, to step out of their comfort zone. Absolutely. Because if you're only ever repeating a pattern of, you know, doing whatever got you praise over and
Right.
over and over again,
Right.
are you really growing?
No, it's a really good point. I it's I do think a lot of us probably feel as voice actors that when we start, we are emulating or we're trying to, um, you know, do what we think is the right thing to do so we don't step outside those lines, meaning
Yeah.
like we don't try something new or we don't push ourselves to do something that might be totally crazy,
Mhm.
like the way we're speaking, the speed in which we're doing all the different modes of expression, whether it's pitch or whether it's pausing or speed or
Mhm.
whatever. We don't do those different things. I'll never forget. I had this one time I was auditioning, was on voices.com. I've been auditioning and auditioning and auditioning as we all do. And I literally I got to the point, I'm not kidding you. I would be like, instead of the audition, I would literally record, is anyone listening? If you are listening, send me a response because I just want to know someone's on the other side. And no one would send anything still. And but it's funny because you do a lot of times, at least I felt like you're doing all this stuff and you don't know what people are really thinking, what they are hearing, and in the end, you got to try new stuff because it could be the new stuff that really gives people that, oh wow, they're different, they're unique. But from a growth standpoint, I totally agree with you.
It's that speaking into the void feeling,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
That we so rarely get feedback, but a coach is that opportunity. You're not paying a coach to tell you that you're wonderful and you're so amazing and everything you do is perfect. No, you're paying a coach to give you that sometimes harsh but necessary criticism or that viewpoint of, okay, here's what a client hears
Mhm.
when they receive this piece of audio. Here's their likely reaction to this and why. And then it's using that to make different, better, yeah, decisions next time.
Oh, absolutely. I think this is a really cool conversation to have about coaching as we're chatting about coaching in general.
Mm-hmm.
The I feel like there's a lot of people who really want coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And but the first barrier I think that pops into all their minds is the money.
Yeah.
But I think at least part of it is, yes, the money of course is very, I mean, that is something we all deal with, and there is
Hmm.
a price for this. But I know for me personally, I'll never forget a lot of times I felt early on that it wasn't the coach or even the money. The money would be a stretch to meet, but it was actually my faith in myself, right? And what I mean by that is not faith in myself that I could do it, but worried that I wouldn't follow through.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like I would let myself down and then
Yeah.
pay for it,
Yeah.
right? And so I think how I got over that is taking the leap. There
Hmm.
is a time where you have to just take the leap and
You do.
realize that that in itself is part of your journey.
Yeah.
Do you know
And
what I mean? I don't know that
totally.
sometimes I like to get in like about our feelings about like what's actually going on in our minds. And sometimes like I could be completely wrong, but that's how I felt. I felt like I was actually betting on myself. And at the time, did I really trust myself
Hmm.
to make the decisions? I would say, well, it's money or it's this, but it might be that I'd not have faith in myself or my schedule or
Mm.
something. But those are obstacles we have to overcome. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, and so often it's validation, right? It's if I'm not booking jobs, if booking is the top tier, the ultimate metric for how we validate our choice and what we're doing, then if we're not booking, what's the second place it comes from? And that's usually a coach or its peers. And so often that's what I see in a lot of classes. It really is people just seeking a form of validation. Tell me that I'm
Yes.
here, that I'm making the right choice. Tell me that
Yep.
I'm not wasting my time, right? Tell me that this isn't just a huge mistake. There's so many components
Oh
of
yeah.
this.
Hmm.
And it can be tough. It can be, and I sympathize with that. I empathize with that because, oh man, I remember those days. And
Hmm.
but at the same time, a coach can only validate you so far.
Right.
We can only tell you where we believe your strengths lie, and then ultimately it still is going to be up to the efforts that you make to get into the hands of clients that are, yeah, ultimately going to hire you and then validate you that way.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I think so. All right. So from a coaching standpoint, if you are someone who's like, okay, I'm interested in some coaching. I want to take my business to the next level, and I think
Mm.
a coach could help me. What are kind of what's available out there? So I know like from my standpoint, there's really kind of two to three different ways. You have a one-on-one type of a coach where
Mm-hmm.
you work with a person individually, just you
Yep.
and them. Then there are maybe broader type school environments, like for example, VO Journey Academy, which what we do, where you come
Mm-hmm.
and we have live classes where it's you and a
Yep.
coach live. We have
Live
multiple ones a week, but there's
group
other people in the
classes.
class,
Yep.
right? So there's
Mm-hmm.
classes in it, but it's live. And then there's, of course, pre-recorded courses
Yep.
where you can buy a course. There's some popular ones all over the place. We have them Udemy everywhere. I mean, people have
Mm-hmm.
courses. And then of course, then there's I guess there's the watching YouTube and trying to pick up whatever you can splice together here or there.
Yeah, which I liken that to, it's the auditing method, right? I'm not really an active participant, but I'm auditing other people's
Hmm.
participation to pick up similar skills. Yeah.
Right. So you have these different types of ways to get coaching, and probably something starting out. You're like, well, which one should I start out with? Should I do one-on-one? Should I do an academy? Should I do, a pre-recorded course?
Mm-hmm.
Um, what do you think? What do you think is
Mm.
a good play? And by the way, as we say all this stuff, everybody's individual situation will be different.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but you could look at it from the lens of your time, cost, because cost plays a part,
Yeah.
right? What do you think? What's your
Well, if
recommendation?
money was no object, do all of it.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
it all. Absolutely. Immerse
Hmm.
yourself. That's the way to go. Now, realistically, money is always an issue for,
Yes.
in some way, shape, or form. It's always going to be a barrier.
Yes.
So, with that, I think that there's two things, and this is where it's tough because it's kind of that, do I try to do it at the same time or do I do it in increments, right?
Mm,
One on one is going to help you have the most personal growth for your individual voice, style, performance, and learning where to apply it and how to maximize it. But group is where you learn to self direct.
mm-hmm.
Because, in my opinion, I have never learned more about decision making. And I hate to say this, right? Because it sounds terrible, but basically, what you're doing inside of a group acting class, any group acting class, voiceover especially, you're judging,
Mm,
right? You're
mm.
judging your fellow performers, and you're comparing the
Yes.
decision they made with the decision you would have made, and
It's
kind of,
invaluable.
yeah,
Definitely
and you're
valuable.
using that data to help you go, was my idea better or worse?
Hmm.
And how can I understand the decision they made and why they made it? And that's really incredible because that's the kind of thing that helps you to understand
Right.
how to approach an audition and how to do it solo. And
That's a really good point. I agree with that
yeah,
100%.
I mean, over the years, I've learned so much by watching
Hmm.
other people and just,
Yeah, no, I agree with
yeah,
that. Another thing to do that I do like about group work is that a lot of times when you're working with just one coach, which is wonderful, you get everything that one coach has to offer.
yeah,
When you have multiple coaches, you know what I mean, you will be getting a taste now of a lot of different
yeah.
views and paths and ways to do things. So, in a way that also really helps you see more of the playing field, you
It,
know?
it can. And it can also be really confusing for people who are just starting out because a more seasoned actor, especially in voiceover, knows, okay, if I want to study with Anthony, I really want to focus on Anthony's forte and
Right.
audiobooks. And if I want to study with Gabby, I'm going to focus on commercial work since
Right.
that's her forte. And you're kind of using the data that you're gaining from your instructors individually based on, yeah, where they excel.
Right.
Beginners, a lot of times what happens is they go, well, I took a class with Gabby, and she contradicted everything Anthony said, so now I don't know what's going on and I'm super confused. And I'm like, wait, wait. Because then, you and I'll talk and we're like, no, we didn't contradict one another.
Yeah,
It's two
you're
different
right.
pathways.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And the cool thing, so with that, it's the being then in a group where you can speak about those things is really
Mhm.
important as well.
Mhm. Absolutely.
And that helps a lot. And the fact that like we as a group, at least in VO Journey Academy, we speak all the time. We always communicate. We always know what's going on. So that's a really cool thing. But wherever you decide to go, I think for me personally, I don't know you feel about this the same way, I think, is that there is no profession in the world, not sports, not corporate, nothing that you don't get some sort of training.
No.
And they're ongoing. I
I
mean,
always forget how much of a sports ball guy you are.
oh yeah, yeah. Well, I mean,
I
I'm
always
a
forget. Yeah.
offensive coordinator. I
Yeah.
coach
I
from
always
like for our
forget that.
team, our
I'm
local
like, oh
team here,
yeah.
our high school. Yeah, 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 yeah. No, we're in off season training right now. But yeah, but there's nothing that we would do anyway. Even when I was a
Yeah.
teacher, I mean, you're always training. You're all
Mhm.
no matter what job. I worked at the bank, and I was a salesperson for a bank. We nonstop. I mean, it's always training. You were always learning and
Yeah.
training. You're always
Yeah.
going to conferences. There's always people.
Mhm.
You're always getting coaching from somebody. I mean, it's
Yep.
nonstop.
No, it
And I
really
don't
is.
know if we. I don't know if the voiceover. I don't know if newer people. I don't know what it is that they're because there is some people some people might be out there that you might hear that says you don't need to pay for coaching or you shouldn't do coaching. I don't know why they say that. Maybe they had a bad experience. Maybe I'm not sure. I don't know if you have an opinion on that, but I always tell people, please make there is no other, there's no profession anywhere where you don't need some sort of training.
I think they say it because they're honestly trying to convince people of a new system or a different way, and it's their own money making model,
Mm,
and they think if they lead with a piece of information like, no coaching necessary, that somehow that's going to be appealing to people with the budgetary constraints. And then in the end, what do you find out? There's coaching involved. I mean,
sure,
it's just that's where I get very frustrated with the shady side
sure.
of any performance industry, that predatory nature of trying to convince people. It's so easy.
No,
Um,
absolutely. I would be naive if I said to everybody here, if I said to you guys, there's not some people out there, some coaches potentially that might steer you in a way that might not help very much, or
Look,
they might not know what they're doing, or maybe they're not even getting, maybe they're not even voice. I would say one of the first things you should do is make sure if you work with a coach, they are actively doing voiceover. Like that's the thing
you would
about us.
think that
All of
would be
us
like
do
the most
voiceover, voice acting every single
logical first
day.
step. And I will say this, and if they're not actively doing voiceover, they are actively involved
Right.
in the industry, right? This
Right.
is a booth director, this is a casting director, this is somebody who their day in and day out
Right.
revolves around voiceover.
Yes. 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 That's a good
Um,
point. Yeah.
I will say this because I mean it is our first week. It's Friday. We're wrapping up till Monday, that kind of thing.
Hmm.
For me, for the longest time as a coach, I was very against the group classes and the group environments because I had yet to see one that I felt was honest with people and that I thought was really being transparent about the amount of work and time and effort that it takes to do this. And I've had people over the years kind of say to me, they're like, well, you never supported that before. And I'm like, yeah, the academy is my exception. And Avio's journey, after having, you kind of, showed me the peek behind the curtain and went, here's what we do. And I'm like, yeah, this makes sense. This is how it's supposed to be. And there's an encouraged group environment of
Oh
shared
yeah.
ideas and of communication outside of the classroom that just reiterates those messages. And that makes perfect sense as
Mm.
opposed to, well, you know what? I don't want to even get into the as opposed to because they're icky. They're
Oh
icky
yeah.
and I don't
No,
like it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I agree. I love that about what we do, is that it's so real.
Yeah,
It's so
rightfully
real.
so.
I
I
mean, it's
mean,
very real.
mhm.
We have a question
Mm.
from Strange Storm. When you were not booking work, what skills did you build on? Good
What a
question.
great question. Oh
Yeah.
God.
So for me, after about a year and a half of working very hard and booking a lot of nonfiction audiobook work, and then trying to expand into commercial voiceover work, I didn't book any, like no one would hire me. And I was doing a lot of auditioning because I just wanted to be able to
Hmm.
break into that industry as well. And I was at the time just failing miserably. And what I did was, and I've told this story, I won't go back and bore everybody again with it, but I took a summer. I literally planted myself in one spot in my house and I spent as much time as I could listening to people that I felt were in a similar range of me, something that I
Yeah.
could do, my
Yeah.
age, what I was trying, like my style. And I listened, and these people who are booking work. And so I did not impersonate, but I tried to imitate. Acting is imitation, right? Don't forget that. And I tried to start from cadences, pitch variation, style, the feel. So I worked very hard, and I would say that I had a leg up because I'm an actor. I went to school for
Right.
acting. I've done this most of my life, so I was able to use a lot of things that I'd learned in the past to help me. But that was the skill I forced myself to really work hard on, was seeing what people who were being successful were doing and then working very hard. I spent a summer, and that summer changed the trajectory of my voiceover
Hmm.
career, because I used to narrate when I first started. Everything I did was, hey, I talked like this. Is actually I talked like this. I was very forward in my mouth. I was excited, and I was, so. But now, when most people hear me, you hear me with it speaking from the back of my throat.
Hmm.
I didn't used to speak like I used to really speak more forward, and sometimes when I get excited, I speak like this.
Yeah.
You can hear the difference, but I changed that to me speaking naturally like this from the back of my throat,
Yeah.
because I found that in my age bracket, my men, and the style in which I deliver, this is where most of the hiring, this
Yeah.
sound was coming from.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And I changed that, and I changed my demos, and that changed that. I literally started booking work pretty immediately.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
So you did you did what I call a competitive analysis
Yeah.
with very strategic changes
Hmm.
based on what you saw other people were doing in your category that worked, and that's brilliant.
Yes.
It's exactly I tell all my students to do that. I'm like, you've got to
Mhm.
know your competition, because it's not about the competitive factor, it's about understanding,
Right.
yeah, what
Right.
works and what doesn't. Hmm.
Yeah. How about you?
Oh, for me, you know, I think on my front, it was more about a better understanding of the technological and the business
Mm.
skills that I didn't have or needed to beef up. So I spent an obnoxious amount of time, with the technology, with learning web material and building web pages, and with graphic design and better understanding graphics, and um yeah, I mean, just really, I would say, the visual components that are necessary to run our business that I really didn't
Oh
have
yeah.
a good grasp on at the start. Yeah.
Oh,
Copious amounts of time.
that's a
Copious.
really good point. I suppose, yeah, when
Ugh.
I looked at skills, I was thinking voice acting skills, but you're right. There is not a day that goes by,
Ugh,
not one, that I
no.
don't create digital assets. I don't create things that have not, I mean, they have something to do with voiceover because they're my business, but they don't have any audio. They're not an audio
Mhm.
thing,
And
you
when I
know?
got started, it sucked. We didn't have Canva. We didn't have,
Mm,
all these tools that we have now. We didn't have Adobe Spark. It
mm.
was
You draw them by hand.
it was brutal. It was brutal. The tech at that time, it's so archaic
Mm,
by today's standards, but
mm, mm.
yeah.
That was a really good question. Thank you
Yeah.
for asking that. Well, you guys, it's been really cool. I mean, we've had our first week. I mean, I guess we started on Wednesday, but
Yeah,
still, we had
partial
we had
week.
3 days. So we'll be back on Monday. Thank you guys for watching. Tell a friend. Make sure they
Like,
come, and
subscribe, do all the things.
absolutely check out VO Journey Academy. We'd love to have you.
Have a
All
great
right.
weekend.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
See you Monday.
Bye. See you later.